Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Wednesday version of Harmonize, 2Energize, which is the invitation from practitioners, instructors around the world to retell their inspiring Jin Shin Jyutsu stories. So welcome everybody. I hope you're well, and a particular warm welcome to those of you that are first timers to Jin Shin Jyutsu. Jin Shin Jyutsu is an art of harmonizing life energy as it moves or doesn't through the body. And we do this in Jin Shin Jyutsu by placing our hands on what we call safety energy locks, left and right of the spine. There are 26 safety energy locks on the left and 26 on the right. So, as we know, today is the storyteller time, inspiring stories from around the globe. So without further ado, nothing else from me. Today's mystery preventer, good Lord. Yeah, today's mystery presenter is Cora. It's Cora from Colorado Springs. Cora Michael, welcome, Cora. Can't hear you, Cora. Can't hear you. Can you turn your mic on?
Oh, is that on?
Yeah, it is now. I don't know what happened. Maybe we turned it off when we turned the video off by mistake.
Okay.
Yes.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
here,
welcome, Cora.
here we are. I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So my story. I came to Jin Shin Jyutsu found me in around 1980. And I was able to take some classes with Mary Brewmeister here in Colorado Springs. And then my life just came zinging in. And I ended up busy with being a single parent, trying to figure out how to earn a living. So I was working in dairy barns and trade schools and all kinds of stuff, animal hospitals too, and I ended up taking care of my mother as well, somewhere along in that scene. So oddly enough, what was really important to me suddenly kind of just disappeared into my garage with 100 million other items. And I didn't do much with any Jin Shin Jyutsu for a while. Until I became semi-retired anyway. So while I'm talking and telling my stories, I want you to, if you accept the invitation anyway, I suggest you hold your 15s. And they're located at your groin. So if you stick your hands in your pockets, you're right on them. So just kind of hang in there with your 15s, and we'll start our story. And if you happen to find yourself more interested in what's happening in your 15s than my talking to you, that's probably a good thing, because you can just listen to the recording later. Okay. 40 years ago, I met two petite, dynamic women who changed my life. The first one was a psychiatrist who, after interviewing me, wrote me a prescription for an antidepressant. She walked me to the door, and she looked up at me and she said to me, "You might want to do something about your anger. The people around you must be sick of it by now." Well, right. That didn't go over that well. But so the second lady was Mary Brewmeister. Holy balls. Anyway, her smile has followed me around for the rest of my life. When she says, "Be the smile," she was the smile. Man. As a person who had education in both religion and in biology, I found her teachings baffling and compelling and fascinating and paradoxical. It was this incredible experience. I loved and still love the idea of harmonizing rather than fixing, and of diagnosis being called, and labels being called projects. I love that concept. There's a song by Leonard Cohen called "You Want It Darker," and there's a line in it that says, "If you are the healer, then I'm broken and maimed." So, projects versus labels? Yes, very much so. The 5-day class is information is an information bomb. Like, wow. You get all this stuff about what to do for what. And you get all this philosophy that tells you that the jumper cabler is only a spectator, that the individual heals himself. I love that too. So, my first story, shortly after I had classes from Mary, I walked up to my barn. I live on 5 acres. At that time I had lots of different critters, probably dairy goats and chickens and sheep, and of course there were feral cats in the barn too, which was a good thing. So I walk up to the barn and I find a feral cat that I'd seen around. She was lying on the ground and couldn't move. I guess something had grabbed her and shaken her or something. So I took her into my veterinarian, and he examined her and he said, "Well, she's got a broken neck, and you need to euthanize her." And I didn't have the money to do that. Plus, I hadn't taken her there for him to kill her anyway. So I took her home, and I set up the couch in the living room. I padded it up with blankets or towels and stuff. And probably put plastic under the towels and stuff like that. And I started working on her, and or working with her. Now, if you know much about cats, the legend is that cats have 9 lives, and veterinarians tend to say, if there's something wrong with a cat, just put all the bits in the room and it'll heal itself. So this story is kind of like this bit of, the cat, critters or people heal themselves, cats heal themselves, whatever. And also a combination of Mary saying, be reasonable, expect a miracle. Okay. So anyway, I don't know whether I was expecting a miracle. I was probably more like, well, let's see what happens. No expectations is a good thing too. Right? So I set it up. I start working on it. I work with the kitty. I hold her wands on her legs. I hold points along her spine. I sandwich her pelvis. I think that's about all I did. It's hard to remember. 40 years ago. Anyway, and as I held her, I wasn't feeling much of anything. Then I was starting to feel something, but I wasn't sure what was going on. In the meantime, she seemed to be comfortable, and so and I hydrated her too. I got some water into her and a little liquid food, and worked on her the next day as well. And then, as I was doing that, the part of the thing about expecting a miracle is you should probably prepare for a miracle too. And so the third day, and it's crazy because it was the third day, which was just weird. Anyway, the third day, this cat claws her way up to the top of my couch and pees all over it. And it was glorious, dark orange, really concentrated cat pee. It was like awesome pee. Then she jumped or fell off the top of the couch, and there I was with a feral cat now in my living room in panic mode because she didn't want to be there. So I got out of her way, opened the kitchen door. She headed out in a very odd, staggery, sort of uncat-like way and headed up to my barn. And miracle, or do cats just heal themselves? Who knows? But she was fine, and around for quite a while actually. So, well, let's fast forward to 2013. It would have been like 1982. So 2013, I go to my optometrist and I get a diagnosis I didn't like much. And so I decided that I'd go see a Jin Shin Jyutsu practitioner. So I head forth and go to this guy's office, and lo and behold, he was sharing an office, or he was renting his office space from the psychiatrist. It was like, wham! Okay. So I knew I was in trouble. And And so, and you know, I also knew that I was in the right place in terms of the practitioner too, because he had Mary's smile. And when I told him he had Mary's smile, he said, "Yes, I know." So, so we started getting sessions, regular sessions, and I didn't tell him about my project because I wanted him to follow the pulses. I wanted to find out what was going on, because anyway. So that was interesting, because after a couple of sessions, I had projects popping up all over. It felt like playing whack-a-mole, because you know, here came something and I didn't want to deal with that, and here came something else and I didn't want to deal with that, and here came another thing and I didn't want to deal with that either. It was like, oh, whatever, you know. So, and most of the stuff involved a lot of it was pretty emotional. It was pretty a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of basic attitude stuff. So there I was, needing to do some work. And also having to figure out what I was feeling, because there was a lot of me that just didn't feel much of anything. You know, it was like, so for a while I was going for sessions, and sometimes I didn't want to go, but I went anyway, because I wasn't sure what the heck was going to come up this particular session. Was like, you know. So anyway, it was not much fun, but it was important to me, so I kept going. And then, in the meantime, it occurred to me that, they say that self-help is like, just 74% effective. They need to see a practitioner. But then I run into an instructor who says to me, or says to us in the class, she says, I can do your dishes for you and clean the sink, but if you do self-help, then I can do your oven, your slimy oven, and I can wash your windows. And it was like, oh, I get it now. Okay. So, start with self-help. In that self-help book, number 1, Mary, on page 9, paragraph 8, there's this wonderful quote that goes, where did I put that?
Is this the quote that you want me to show? Okay.
Yeah, no, show that. Yeah. Self-help. Yeah, right here. This one always makes me laugh. I laugh out loud every time I read this thing. It is the daily application of the simple sequences that will accomplish results as well as develop patience. The knowing of the sequences but not applying them will not accomplish results. I just
right.
right. So it is the awakening the awareness of the getting to know and help myself, which will accomplish results. So I started in. I started working with attitude stuff, and I started doing the long forms of the attitude. And I was, part of her instruction in that self-help book one is that notice your attitudes and then go to the finger for that attitude. Well, I was having trouble even identifying the attitude, right? But it works in reverse too. So if you start working with those fingers and those attitudes, then it's that awareness that comes. And so you start to be able to recognize what's happening. And so things got better. And along with figuring out what I was feeling and being able to go to the attitudes right away, which is one of Mary's instructions, I also discovered that when I was in attitude, that's when I hurt myself. I've got 5 acres here. I do a lot of digging. I do a lot of working on fence lines. I do a lot of other stuff. I've got a pony. I walk around. And sometimes she steps on me if I'm not paying attention, especially if I'm anxious or pissed off or whatever. So not only do the attitudes, attitudes affect how you interact with the world, for sure. And they do get demonstrated. You get taught lessons. You get taught lessons with them. And I would, if I was angry or sad or whatever, and trying to do something, usually trying to do something that was took more strength than I had or whatever, I'd hurt myself. And, that gave me an opportunity to apply the art to take care of my knee project or a toe project or whatever project or back project. That's kind of a painful way to go about practicing. So it's better to work on your attitudes. And I found that my animals help me out a lot on that. My bird tells me when I'm angry, and he knows when I'm angry or just getting irritated, and then he starts yelling at me. But, he just, not only does he reflect my attitude, he amplifies it. He's a macaw, so he can yell.
Yeah.
And my pony has no patience with me if I'm thinking about other things and trying to do stuff with her. It's like, if you're not going to be here, I'm not going to be here with me. I'm not going to be here either. And she just walks away. So that, it's fun. So, things have changed. I'm getting better at recognizing my attitudes, and I've been working with them. I was heartened to, I talked to the psychiatrist, and I thanked her for telling me that bit about my anger years ago. And she looked at me and she said, "I said that to you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Was I right?" And I said, "Yes, you sure were." So that was good. Let's see. So 15s. We started out holding 15s.
Do you want that slide up?
Yeah, get that slide up. That'd be good. That's a fun slide. They're talking about, attitudes have been my problem, for sure. And laughter is, 15 stands for laughter. It is the key to no attitudes. I've found that when And I found, let's see, one of the things I found out about myself, well, I kind of known it all along actually, but it's been more obvious, is that I am neither organized nor am I disciplined. But laughter enables me to be incredibly curious and inquisitive and willing to work with self-help, because I just wonder what's going to happen next. What's going to happen here? This is cool. So notice it says, be the smile. Be the dropping of your shoulders. I've heard it that Mary said that she dropped her shoulders, and she did that be the smile, drop your shoulders 100 times a day. So I thought, well, that's like every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's like every 10 minutes. What would it be like to practice dropping your shoulders every 10 minutes? Would you there you go. Unroll, exhale, receive. Be the no attitude. Know myself it is. That's kind of where I'm at. Who knows what'll happen next? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Wow. That was, for me, one of the most authentic presentations. Not that the others have not been authentic. But I know Cora from a mentoring class, and I know she was very keen to offer a story, but for a little while she was wanting to wait. And it's been worth waiting for. I think what Cora brought to the table there was a story where you're actually really embodying Jin Shin Jyutsu because you've been through projects yourself, and the honesty and authenticity has come through because in this story, Cora has told you very, very personal things about herself, and sometimes we're very reluctant to do that, and sometimes we think, gosh, am I going to be judged? I just want to say for myself, my memory is shot. So, but the truth of the matter is, this is an art of compassion. And whatever you've been through, it can inspire all kinds of different understandings for different people. And I thought it was wonderful how Cora wove together her story from the beginning and how she first connected with Jin Shin Jyutsu. It wasn't like, this is, everyone's got to do this. She was discerning, right? And I think that's great. I don't think we expect of ourselves, sometimes we expect of ourselves too much or too little. And we think we got to do this or do that. But using discernment is a really useful quality. And so the energy I got from Cora as well is that it was like a natural unfoldment. And as she understood more by practicing and receiving, I love the analogy, whichever teacher gave you that. I had a funny feeling it might have been Birgitta Meinhardt, but I could be totally wrong. But anyway, this kind of balance where you receive from others and you practice. Brigitte Meinhardt, by the way, always used to say to people that were saying, who were practitioners, oh, I don't get many clients. She always used to say, do you practice on yourself? So I'm hearing a combination of the growth of self-awareness and moving from an attitude, which, as Cora said, Mary would suggest that's the basis of all our health conditions ultimately, or at least if we don't resolve them any other way, there's an attitude holding it back. To move from one strong attitude to another of a different kind and have a therapist go, did I say that to you? To me, suggests that there was transformation, because the Cora that I'm seeing, I would never have said Cora was working with an anger project at all. I would actually say she's very harmonious, and maybe she had an earlier project with anger, but she's found some great calm and peacefulness in her journey if it was a little angry before. And I really appreciate you showing that contrast, because what came across was your calm, your thoughtfulness, and your humor, which could be the antithesis of frustration or anger, right? So isn't that transformation? I mean, congratulations, and anybody else. So thank you, Cora. I am really touched by your stories there, and the peeing cat, the orange peeing. I mean, you told it how it was, right? You tell it how it is. I love it.
Yeah.
So everybody, I really, really raise my hand to Cora. That was a really beautiful rendition of her stories and her journey, and I thank her very much. I'm going to invite her to come back. I'm biased. Yeah, I'm going to choose people. No, that's not true. Maybe it is a bit, but I think that's a good example for anybody out there who's been thinking, "Oh, I can't do this. Oh no, it's too intimidating." I think you had an example there of authenticity of the first order. So breathe out, everybody, and use Cora as your model, because I think she introduced you to a journey from one energy to another. And that is Jin Shin Jyutsu, really. We're transforming from one place, one space to another. And we had a beautiful example here. So thank you, Cora. That was just beautiful. I could go on all day, but I won't. But I will welcome you back. Is there anything you want to add to anything that you said, or?
Not right now.
No. You said it all, really, didn't you? It kind of covered all the land there, all the territory. So everybody, Friday I will be here, and Cora, I know, is often on these webinars. So thank you for that, Cora, and thank you for the support that I receive from all of you. I'm happy to say I finally learned how to upload the webinars. Ale was religiously doing it for me, bless his heart. And then something happened and he couldn't. And I'm going, well, I suppose I'll have to learn now.
Yeah.
And I had some transformation. And so all the videos that were not up are up, and Cora's will be up because I know how to do it. And it should be within 48 hours. So tell your friends, if they didn't see this is a good one. Check it out. So Friday we'll be back here, and it'll be self-help practices with the 36 breaths. So until then, Thank you again, Cora. This was just exquisite. I'm going to get you back unless you refuse. and and thank you, everybody. Take care. It's still a strange up and down in the world. We're still balancing things. We're still not sure. We're still hearing stories through one ear and stories through the other. What's truth? What isn't anymore? But we've got Jin Shin Jyutsu to balance all that. So when you get that overwhelm, exhale and then naturally inhale. After maybe even less than 36 breaths, you may get a different perspective. Your attitude may feel, well, you know what it is, and as it is. I can balance and harmonize myself. And if I don't feel well enough, I can find a practitioner. And I'm not going to say who I think Cora's practitioner was, or whatever. I'm not here to give those kinds of plugs. But I might see if I can get hold of that practitioner and get him on here. If it is who I think it is. But anyway, beautiful, everybody. Take care. Thank you again, Cora. And I'll see you all Friday.